Hello and welcome to the Rays of Hope program brought to you by the Purchase Area Sexual Assault and Child Advocacy Center. I'm your host today, Mary Foley, and I'm so glad that you've joined us for another edition of the program as we highlight Sexual Assault Awareness Month and all of the different events that you can be a part of. We're going to be talking about the scope of the problem, and that's not an easy topic to discuss. But most importantly, we're going to be talking about how you can be a part of the solution. So I'd like to welcome our guest to the program today. We have some new folks, some new faces for our viewing audience. I don't know that they've seen you all, so welcome. We'll start with you and let you introduce yourself, Stacy, and then we'll just go down the line.
Well, I'm Stacy Thomas, and I'm actually an employee of the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a new board member, so thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here, Misty.
I'm Misti Drew. I'm the editor for MarshallCountyDaily.com. I'm also a new board member, and I'm just pleased to be here this morning with you all.
Thank you.
I'm Detective Robert Caskey. I work for the McCracken County Sheriff's Department. I'm an investigator for a lot of sexual abuse cases.
And we work with you often. We
Yes,
see
we
you,
do.
Unfortunately and fortunately, we
Right.
see you often. Also, you have been a chef for our Men Who Cook event, which we're going to be talking about later on in the program.
Yes, I
so
have.
you wear many hats for us, and so thank you for being here. Well, I tell you, when I chose the panel of guests for this particular program, I chose it for this reason. You two ladies are brand new board members, and so I think that you bring with you a freshness and a newness that I know is contagious for me, so I know it will be
That's our hope.
contagious for the viewers. And you all are also involved in lots of things at the center. And you, Detective, I chose you because, or I asked you, because you have cooked for us for Men Who Cook, and we do see your face often at the center, so I know you have your hand, if you would, on the pulse of this problem, and so I think you have a lot to offer in terms of education for our viewing audience.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome. So what I'd like to start with today is I would like for us to talk about Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It's coming up in March. And on the one hand, that's a wonderful thing that we have an awareness month to talk about a topic like this. And on the other hand, I think it gives credence to the fact that it is such a huge problem.
It's a shame that we need it.
It is a shame that we need it. So will you talk a little bit about your thoughts about this topic, this issue?
Well, as with anything, and of course I've had the opportunity to be involved with several organizations in the community just, by what I do, but being involved with PASAC has been important to me because you see the effects in your community on a day-to-day basis. And being a new board member, I've not really had the opportunity to discuss this with you all, but as a child, I was a victim of child sexual abuse. So when I was given the opportunity to be on the board, I knew right away it was something that I wanted to do. When you've worked with these children and you see the effects that are lifelong effects, you know that organizations like this are absolutely necessary and they're just a godsend. So that's why having a month-long awareness plan that's active in the community is so necessary and vital. And Men Who Cook is a passion for me too, because it's a way to highlight and fundraise and bring additional awareness throughout the year.
And we're so glad to have you on our board for a variety of reasons. I know that you know a lot about the topic and the work that you do, and you are involved in the community. Misty, just to continue on with what you're saying, what do you think is the importance of having a response system in place for victims of child sexual abuse and adult sexual assault through places like PASAC? Why is that important for victims and their families?
I can tell you, being a victim, there was no place to go. This was many years ago. It was something that wasn't talked about. To this day, there's still kind of an unspoken silence. You aren't supposed to talk about it. And I think centers like PASAC bring, first of all, the problem to light, and second of all, give victims an avenue to be able to discuss and deal with the turmoil that comes from being a victim. And so to, first of all, be able to talk about it publicly and to be able to deal with it is why I'm so passionate about this project.
And you see both of you all nodding your heads. Anything you'd like to add or
I would
echo?
like to say that I've been in law enforcement for several years, and I worked a lot of sexual abuse cases, not only to children but to adults also. And over the years, I've seen how the difference is when your organization and places like Child Watches and all got together and worked together, how much of an improvement it's helped law enforcement to be able to solve their crimes, because it helps the victim open up more.
Right.
And the first thing we do is when we get a call for to do an investigation on one of these kind of cases, you or PASAC, a PASAC and Child Watch are the first person that I call so they can meet me there and help me in my investigation, because you are very good about what you all do. And like I said, it helps open up that victim to what we need to do and get our case going as quickly as possible.
Right.
Very crucial. Time is a very strong element in any case that we work on these, and the quicker we can get to that, the 48-hour time frame usually is when we can solve these crimes, the better off it is. And you've helped us do that in the years that I've worked with the PASAC and Rape Crisis Center.
Thank you. For viewers that are tuning in and maybe they know a little bit about PASAC but not a lot, I think this is a natural place just to talk about what the services that we do provide. And we do provide free and confidential services to any type of victim of sexually based crimes. As you're talking about, the forensic interview and child sexual abuse component, we have interviewers on staff that work with law enforcement and social services to interview children to help you all build your case, and to do that in a child-friendly environment. Medical and legal advocates, prevention education programming, it's just part of what we do. And so it's actually, March is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, so they're couched right there together. Now, Stacy, you have been involved with the agency for a long time.
Yeah.
Just talk to the viewer, talk to me about what, from your perspective, not being an employee of the center, what do you think of when you think of PASAC?
When I think of PASAC, actually, you talked about me being involved with the organization way before I became a board member. I was actually an employee when I graduated from college in my bachelor's degree, and I became an employee, and I was a community educator. And I really didn't know what I was getting into. I just wanted a job. And when I came on the scene and I got the job and I noticed how many children were being serviced, it just broke my heart with compassion just to see, and not just children, but the number of young boys that were being serviced. And you really didn't know how prevalent or how, how much this occurred, sexual abuse and child abuse occurred, until I started working in it. And so when I was asked to be a board member, I was more so honored than anything, because I believe in the mission and the vision of the rape, formerly the Rape Crisis Center, but the Purchase Area Sexual Assault and Child Advocacy Center, because so many of the children that I see, you never know. I believe it was, back in my day, it was 1 in 7 boys that were being sexually abused and 1 in 4 young girls that were being abused, and now it's probably more than that. And so you see so much of this in the community, and the only thing that you think is to help.
Right.
and how do you help? And a lot of times you can't actually monetarily help, but you can help by giving of your time, supporting organizations such as these, and different things like that.
Well, and I think you underscore a really important point. And every time, I am in this work every day, and I host this program every month, and every time I run a report to do the numbers. I was just talking with somebody here at the college, and his words were, I'm shocked every time you send a new statistic, because from July 1 of 2009, through December 31st of 2009, so just the last 6 months, the Purchase Area Sexual Assault Center has provided services to over 400 new victims. Now, that doesn't mean we've stopped providing services to the ones we currently provide services for. And I think it's close to 3,600 services have been offered in some way through the crisis line, or the advocacy, or the clinical, or the prevention program. In some way have been offered to our community. And obviously McCracken County is our largest community, so it's going to take up the biggest piece of the pie. But that really shows, just in our neck of the woods, in the Purchase area, the 8 counties, we're looking at some shocking and astonishing numbers. Detective, when you work these cases, you see them every day just like we do from a different angle. Do those numbers shock you?
They do, but it doesn't surprise me. Okay, in the years that I've been doing this, 10 years in investigation, I don't know how many cases I have worked. What I have seen through your organization, though, and without your organization, the difference was I've seen kids grow up after we've worked cases with them, and once they've been with your organization, they come through it much better, and they're able to go on with their lives than the ones who have not. And it's one of the things that I try to watch, and as I'm in my job, is to see how the children come. It's very important that these children come out of this thing good, you know, well. And with what you guys do is, I just can't commend you on how well you guys do it and bringing these kids back to normal.
Well, and it certainly is a team approach, you know, law enforcement and our agency, social services, all working together, and then community members, whether it's businesses or whether it's the media, shining a light, putting a focus on the scope of the problem. You know, Misti, I have to tell you, your immediate response of, unfortunately, you know, we have to have this, is so intriguing to me because for the most part in the community, we have, I think, and this is my opinion, I don't have anything to back it up other than my opinion, we have two camps. We have those that say, this is terrible, this is awful, this is happening, jumping up and down, we have to do something about it. And then we have a group that they're not ready to say it doesn't happen, but they certainly don't want to make it their issue.
Absolutely.
What would you say to those folks?
Well, first I'd like to say it's important for people that don't know to realize that PASAC services the region. Even though most of the activities that go on are here in McCracken County, the folks in Marshall or Graves or any of those surrounding counties rely on this center just as much. When those investigations are opened, they come to these centers and rely on PASAC services. And as far as it's actually kind of a Bible Belt issue, and that's the way I like to reference it, and I've written stories on this. People like to think that their communities are safe and crime-free, and the realization that drug crimes have increased dramatically, sexual crimes have increased dramatically, is not a comforting thought, and people like to be comforted. So to me, being a part of this organization is about two things. First of all, dealing with the reality, and second of all, being able to comfort people in some way. Yes, here's the reality and we need to deal with it, but on the other hand, here's the solution. And things like Men Who Cook kind of bring a different element to dealing with a bad problem. It's a way for people to get out and gather socially, which is always a good thing. But second of all, you're working towards a solution for a devastating epidemic in our society. So.
And I think Misti brings up a great point. I think the scope of the problem is so big that you don't realize the impact that it has on the community, because whether we realize it or not, all of us have been victims to something.
Absolutely.
Whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's overeating, whether it's drug addiction, whether it's alcohol addiction, and a lot of those are open, you know, they're visible and people can see those. But with sexual assault, a lot of times that happens in the dark.
Absolutely.
And nobody wants to bring that to the light. And so with an organization like the Purchase Area Sexual Assault Center, people can feel safe and feel confide and be able to confide in somebody, so that as they work through life's issues, they don't always stay a victim. They may have become a victim, but they don't have to stay a victim.
That's right. And so I think that's what, well said, all of you. This is what a good panel we chose today. But I think that's what you're underscoring. You understand that when you meet that child or that adult, they have been victimized or have just recently said that. But your hope is that down the road, they become a survivor in every way.
When you stop and look at a child that has been a victim, they have had to face their suspect, then they have to face me, which is, you know, I mean, I'm not a bad guy or nothing like that, but still, I'm a male figure. It's hard to be able to talk to the child, and then we have someone like yourself come in who helps put that at ease, so that child can be at ease and be able to talk to us. Another thing I don't want to jump out too soon on this, but what I like about your organization is the training that you all have provided for law enforcement, to where we know how to work together and be able to help this child as quickly as possible.
It really is a team response. And so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I would like to shift our focus from the scope and go of the problem and go into, during Sexual Assault Awareness Month, what can folks do? So please stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to the Rays of Hope program. We're talking today about Sexual Assault Awareness Month and how you can be a part of the solution to sexually based crimes in our community. With us today we have Stacy Thomas, Misti Drew, and Detective Bob Caskey from the McCracken County Sheriff's Department. Welcome to all of you. We have just spent the first half of our program talking about the scope of the problem. Before we get to the events of the month, specifically Men Who Cook, I'd like to talk about perhaps one of our biggest triumphs that we've had that will maybe give that momentum that there is hope as long as people get involved in a team effort and make a difference. Misti, would you talk to us a little bit about that success?
Most recently, obviously being a board member, I was able to take that experience into my regular work as a news editor and look at something from a different perspective. We recently had a case that was tried in Marshall County. The Commonwealth's Attorney General's office actually came in and prosecuted a child rape case, and the verdict of that was a historical one in that it was a life sentence plus 25 years, the longest sentence ever given, and that was due directly to the cooperative effort between PASAC, the investigators, and the Attorney General's office. And I think it really goes to show that if we get involved as a community and we work together, we can send a strong message that we're not going to tolerate this type of behavior. And
I tell you, we have something at our center called Justice Parties. We offer them once a quarter. We've just started them where we invite people that have been in the legal system to celebrate some way that courage that it takes to go through that process. And in this particular situation, the Attorney General's office for the state did prosecute that case. And boy, what a wonderful success. And we couldn't have done it without local law enforcement. Without the agency and without
DCBS, everybody was involved, and once again, it just shows that if we continue to bring this problem to light and we continue to work together, these are the type of messages that we can send to the perpetrators.
Right. Well, speaking of working together, we like to, oftentimes people automatically assume that perpetrators are most of the time male. Not always. We have plenty of females and plenty of mothers that are perpetrators that we deal with in terms of their victims, but we have decided to highlight men coming along and talking about a very difficult topic for both male victims and just for the community at large. And it's called Men Who Cook. So you all have all been involved with Men Who Cook in more than one way. Who would like to start about Men Who Cook and what that is? Stacy, tell us what Men Who Cook is.
Well, Men Who Cook is an event that the Purchase Area Sexual Assault Center does every year. They've been doing it since...
This will be our fifth year.
The fifth year, and it's a real big to-do. We bring in what we call celebrity chefs, and different men from the community come in and they cook up their special dish, and they bring enough for everybody, and it's just a lot of fun. You meet people from the community. We have an auction in honor of some of the victims and different things like that. It's just a great event to give your money to help sexual assault victims.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, Misti, what has your involvement been?
I love Men Who Cook because, first of all, this is my third year being involved with it. Last year we actually cooked. My husband cooked. He says he cooked. I'm not really sure. It's not absolutely mandatory that you prepare the food. Nonetheless, we were there and we were on the chef side of it last year. It's an amazing event because it's such a positive, exciting gathering. But then you turn around and you take all that money that you raise and you put it towards finding a solution to this problem. So you're able to kind of step back for a second and not look at the downside of it all, and put a positive spin on it, and then go back to work in the community with the money that you've raised. So this year we're working on the chef committee side of it and recruiting those people to come in like Bob, and just pushing them a little bit to be there and provide a good meal for everybody.
And before we talk and highlight our chef here that we have, Men Who Cook this year will be on March the 13th. It'll be at the Convention Center. We have moved it this year. It'll be at the McCracken County Convention Center. We are looking to we usually have 50 chefs. This year we're trying to recruit 60 chefs, so there's going to be plenty of food for everyone. Our premier sponsors are Wagner Wine and Spirits, Best Buy, iList, Paducah, and Premier Event Group, and they come alongside and just really make sure that the event is everything that people expect it to be. Best Buy will be having the big screen TVs. They'll play the tournament games, so you won't miss your tournament games in this very important weekend. And all the drinks are free, the food is free, and I've heard it is wonderful food. And so these 50 chefs come together, they're our starting lineup for the night, and they range from law enforcement, firefighters, elected officials, business people, all kinds of folks, and you guys get competitive.
Yes, we do.
Yes, they do.
If you'll stop and think about it, and I'm sure you all have husbands, I think they're all proud of what they can do with a barbecue grill. And we are competitive on what we do. It's very exciting. Last year was the first year I was able to do that. Our department has done it in the past with others. I think Sheriff John Hayden did it a couple of times. And when I first heard about it and you asked me about it, I was a little bit concerned on what to expect. But once I got into it, and my wife helped me out, and I had another person that goes to my church that decided to be a cook with us too. And we had a great time out there and competing with the other guys and fellowshipping with other law enforcement officers, not only that, but the people in the community too. And it kind of lets them know that as men, we are concerned about what happens to our ladies, and we want to make sure we support them in every way we possibly can. And if we can raise some money to help you guys out, that's what we're going to do.
And I think it's, I'm sorry, I think it's the adrenaline in the room when you get there. I mean, people are so pumped up, and we're just competitive by nature, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever. Everybody's competitive, so it's the adrenaline in the room and the excitement, and it's for sexual assault, and that's the funny thing. And then we veer over to the services that we do from purchase area sexual assault, and the things that we've accomplished for the year, and the lives that we touch. And it brings you all down to perspective at the event that this is where our money's going towards. These are the people that we're helping. This is for a worthy cause.
Well, and we do have art, client art that we auction off, and that's a very powerful time. And like you're saying, the adrenaline in the room. I mean, it is as exciting as any sporting event I've been to. Usually, last year, the Bear from the local radio station, he did the starting lineup, and I'm telling you, I was shocked at the competitiveness of you wonderful chefs. But we had a blast. What was the experience like for you overall?
I had a really good time with it. I've worked with a lot of events to raise money. We did the DARE program in Mayfield, was able to raise money for them. And when we started collecting money for this, or trying to raise money for this program, I found it to be very easy. I was able to talk to the people that I would want them to donate, and I'd explain what we were trying to do and how we were trying to raise money, and people were very receptive to that, and they were very generous, and I really do appreciate those people. I hope they're just as generous as
Absolutely.
You hope so.
And it's a great event to just attend. You know, if you and your spouse are looking for something to do, or you know, it's a wonderful evening out. It's something that you can't find any other time of the year, and that makes it unique in and of itself, and so worth it. Right.
Well, we just have a few more minutes left, but what I'd like to do is let the viewer have a sneak peek from your perspective of what do they see when they walk in the door? What do they feel? What kind of food are they going to be tasting? Why would they choose to come to Men Who Cook over going out to a restaurant on the weekend of March the 13th? What do they see? What's it like?
We had everything from cheesecake to Asian spicy wings last year. It was anything and everything. Basically, as Bob said, the chefs get pretty competitive, and they try to put feelers out to find out, you know, what the other people are going to cook. And we're obviously going to be moving to a new venue this year, a lot more room. But just a snapshot into what you saw was when you walked in the front doors, there were just hundreds of people everywhere. It was absolutely packed to capacity. And then when you had one area where you walk through and you just get to sample. You load your plate up and you have samples of just literally, you know, 50 different chefs, and they've prepared enough for everyone. And again, it's everything from sweets to just, you know, hors d'oeuvres and entrees. So a little bit of everything. You're not going to find it anywhere else.
It's just a big party. I mean, it's just a big party for sexual assault awareness. And you know, everybody likes a party. You know, whatever type of party you like, it's just a big party. You go in, you get to sample the food, and
tailgate theme.
Everybody seems to be positive and upbeat, and that's what you want when you're raising money for an organization. You want positive people that are going to push your mission forward.
Well, and for the sports fans out there, chefs choose their sport team. We decorate your tables. Corporate sponsors choose their sports team. So it's a big, the sounds of the games are all throughout the venue. It's like you're at the game. You can watch the tournament games on big screen TVs, which I don't know about you, but I don't happen to have one of those at my house.
Right.
So it's a nice
Right.
way to come.
Right.
Plus just some great food, and then, like you said, an opportunity to learn more and to be a part of something greater than yourself.
Absolutely.
Which is always an exciting thing. Well, I tell you, I just want to let the viewer know it's March the 13th. Once again, starts at 7 p.m. at the Convention Center, ends at 11. There will be a DJ for the last part for those who want to dance or whatever they want to do. It's a ticketed event. You can get more information about ticket prices and ticket sales by calling the center. Of course, Community Financial Services Bank is our official ticket outlet. They'll be having those tickets on sale as well. Before we close, and we're almost out of time, I'd like to just give each of you just one more opportunity to tell the viewer, why should Sexual Assault Awareness Month be on their radar?
I think it should be on the radar because it's important to us. Everybody has different issues that are important to them, and this is a prevalent issue. You never know the person that you're sitting next to, the person in your office, the person that you go to school with. They may be dealing with this, and they may be afraid to speak out about it, whether it's male, whether it's female. And it's very important to get those issues out on the table so that people can progress in their lives and live a nice quality of life without those types of issues.
And like she said, it affects everyone. Whether or not you see it is not really what matters. We know it exists, we have the statistics, and we all need to work together to find a solution.
Thank you.
And to me, it's the protection of our children. It's very important that our children are going to take our place, and it's important to us that they have a good start in life. And when something like this happens, we need to take care of it right away. And that's, to me, I mean, the whole sexual abuse thing is important, but our children are more important.
Well, thank you all for your part today, and thank you for joining us for another edition of the Rays of Hope program, and we'll see you next time.